everybody, welcome. Today I'm going to be reviewing my iPhone 6s. There's a lot of things you could say about this phone, and there's a lot of things you could say about like any phone that came out in 2015. One of them is usually not I want to buy it or I want to use it still. Because let's face it, this is 5-year-old hardware. This is a 5-year-old phone. But I'm reviewing it because I really like this phone. And it's the oldest iPhone still supported with iOS updates. It's been supported for 6 updates. No phone has really gone past 5 in Apple's ecosystem, so that proves how powerful this phone actually is. Alright, so this phone has a 4.7-inch display and a resolution of 1334 by 750 at 326 pixels per inches. So the display is actually really good. It has a 90 hertz refresh rate, which isn't bad. It's not the best, but it's not bad. Every single iPhone released after this has, including the 12 that just released, has used a 90 hertz refresh rate. It's not bad. But the resolution's actually really good. I can watch Netflix, YouTube, Apple TV, all of those on here, and they look really good. Now, of course, they're not going to look as good as the iPhone 11 or the 12 when that's released, but it's still good. Like you can sometimes you can see individual pixels, but that's only if you're really looking. If you're like watching TV on it, it looks good. Now, of course, when we talk about resolution, we also got to talk about performance. So this phone has the Apple A9 chip, which is the 9th generation of chipset Apple made for their iPhones. And it also has 2 gigabytes of RAM. So random access memory, the more you have, the better your phone is going to be at multitasking and just doing day-to-day things that you're going to want the phone to do, like running apps in the background or keeping them open in the background. 2 gigabytes it's all right. Like the title of this video, everything with this phone is really, it's not bad, but it's not the best. So 2 gigabytes is good, like middle of the road. In 2015, I almost dropped this. In 2015, it was good. Like in 2015, 2 gigabytes, like not many people need to get this done. This is at 128 gigabytes of storage, which was like in 2015 again. That was a lot, like who is gonna need more than 128? And now you see like 512 and 256 coming out. 128 gigabytes is still good. So anyway, 2 gigabytes of RAM, Apple A9 chip. The new iPhones, the iPhone 12, which were just announced, they have like, I think 4 or 6, I don't think 8, but like 4 or 6 gigabytes of RAM. There are some Android phones out there that have like 16 gigabytes of RAM, and that's like really good. If you were to use an iPhone 12 right next to this, you would feel a difference in performance. I got a single core score of 548 for the benchmark, and I got a multi-core score of 956. And it's all right. The average for an iPhone 6s is 990, and when you look at like the iPhone 11 Pro Max, 3,399 on the multi-core. 3,399 compared to 990 on this phone. So that tells you how much phones have grown. I have had games on this. I have a lot of games on this because this is my daily driver. It's been the phone I've used for a year now, since I got it, and it works really well. This is Asphalt 9 Legends, the racing car game, and as you can see, it works really well. Sometimes it's like laggy, sometimes the display's laggy, but that's just something you're going to see in this phone. So if you have a 6S, you're going to see the display lag sometimes, and in games especially, and the more demanding games like Asphalt 9, sometimes you'll feel that lag. But when you don't feel that lag, when you don't see that lag, it's really good. So like you can see detail, and it's not too crazy, but it's not bad. The next thing is camera. This is the back camera. It is a 12 megapixel sensor, and supports auto high dynamic range, or HDR, 2.2 aperture, and it can shoot up to 4K at 30 FPS video, which is really good. So we're at the point where like not many people have 4K TVs, and back in 2015 this thing could shoot 4K video, which is crazy. I'm filming this right now in HD, but of course once I upload this to Instagram, it's not going to be HD anymore. Here are some photos I took with this phone's now. As you could see, those photos were good. The color pops a lot. What I've heard is from other people using this phone, and other reviewers, is that this phone makes the camera and the software is really good at getting colors to pop and to feel like the way that they actually are in real life. And then compared obviously to like the 6 and the 5, it's not going to be that way. So the cameras are pretty good. If you were going to use it again against like the 11 or the 10R, it's not gonna look as good, but it still does really well. And if you're really into photography, this isn't really gonna be the phone for you. But if you are just someone who just likes to take pictures, and someone who just wants a decent camera, because that's what this is, it's just decent, the software and the camera is pretty good. Of course, it only has one, and you're seeing phones nowadays with 2 and 3 cameras for less than this phone, so it is like something to consider. Now this phone also has 3 things that are kind of novelty. Novelty probably wasn't the right word, but just things that I think are kind of cool. They're fun. Like, for number 1, a headphone jack. This is the last iPhone to come out with a headphone jack. The last one was 7, or the first one to not have a headphone jack was the iPhone 7. Of course, when they announced it, no headphone jack, everybody's like, what? But then conveniently, they released AirPods, and the dongle adapter. So, I mean, I can't complain. I like my AirPods. If you want me to do a review of those, let me know in the comments section. I think it's down below. Headphone jack, which is great, especially for people who just like have headphones and don't want to spend like $30 on a little adapter that they could lose at any second or it could break, or don't want to spend like $100 on earbuds, especially when they might not fit in your ears. The other thing is it has Touch ID, and Touch ID is really cool. As you can see, this is it's really responsive, it's really fast. Now Touch ID is something that the new phones don't have. They have Face ID, which is where it scans your face. The reason some people are wishing they had Touch ID is because of masks. Living in COVID time, you have a mask on, you put the Face ID up, and it doesn't recognize you. Now Apple implemented a software feature that made it so that it knows that you have a mask on and immediately gives you the option to type in your passcode. But it wouldn't be secure if it knew it was you with a mask on, because just from like the top half of your face, it's not enough information for it to be super secure. So they didn't do that. But for me, I walk out in public, I have a mask on. I just put my thumb there and it opens my phone really fast too. Sometimes it will be like fingerprint not recognized, but it's Touch ID, and it's not the best thing in the world, but it works really well, except for those couple times. And like I said, in COVID times, it works fine. I don't have to put a mask on my finger. That'd be weird. So it's great. Headphone jack, Touch ID, and the other thing is 3D Touch. So 3D Touch is something not a lot of people know about because it's not on the newer devices. But what it is it's pressure sensitivity display. So what you do is you hold your finger on an app or on different things that the harder you press, the faster a menu will pop up. So if you just hold it on any phone, a menu will pop up. But on the 6S, I think maybe 7, 8, and 10, I know that the 10 has it, but anything above the 10 doesn't have it. So when you hold hard, when you press hard, it comes up faster. And for some things, like here, I'm in the Apple Store app, and a lot of things, like a lot of apps are actually getting rid of this now, which I don't like as a 6S user. It's called what Apple called Peek and Pop.
Peek and Pop.
Don't like that. I don't like that name. It's weird. I think they have like a whole design team. They could have come up with something better. But it is peeking and popping. So what you do is you hold on this. You hold on it and nothing happens. But if you press lightly, it comes up. And then you can, so you're peeking, you're seeing what's there. And then you hold hard and it pops right into the page or the app you're looking at. So that's really cool. So 3D Touch. There's tons of display, there's tons of sensors under here. Sometimes if you press on it, you can actually feel it move. If you don't have 3D Touch, don't press hard on your display, you're gonna break it. It's really cool. I enjoy it a lot. It's kind of gimmicky when it first came out, and that's why they don't really have it anymore. It was kind of too expensive for Apple to put this thing in their phones that lots of people didn't know about, especially if it wasn't being advertised, and that was just going to cost them more money for something that people weren't really using. So now they have haptic touch, which came out with iOS 13, which is just holding without pressing, and you get a menu. Went over just about everything, talked pretty fast, but here are the price points. So when this phone first came out in 2015, again, September of 2015, it was $849 for this model. 128 gigabytes silver. $849. In 2015, this was a flagship, so this was a pretty like premium phone. $849 for 128 gigabytes. And I looked online, I looked on Amazon, I looked for a while. I could only find a couple still for sale, which is weird. But what I found is around $400 for the same model today. Now, here's my stance, my final stance. Should you buy this phone or not? There's a couple of answers. Number one, if you have an iPhone 6S, don't upgrade right now. Don't upgrade right now. You can get like 10 more months out of this phone. Number two, the second option is if you have an older phone, don't upgrade to this phone. If you have like a 5, and you want a phone that's going to last you for the next phone. Again, like this phone will last you until next year, next August, then it'll work just as well as your old phone did. What you should do is you should probably just upgrade to the 11 or even the 12s. Going from the 5 to a 12 is definitely an upgrade you are going to feel. It would be really nice. And the third option is if you have an iPhone 8 or 7. If you have anything above an iPhone 6S, especially if you have an 11, don't downgrade. And then the fourth option is if you really don't care, if you don't care about what your phone, how it acts, like what it is, like you really don't care. And if you're coming from Android and really, if you just don't care what phone you have, got this phone. it's not a lot of money. It works pretty well, and it's not really gonna let you down. Of course, in any situation, do whatever you want. Like, I'm just suggesting stuff, but what I suggest, if you have it, stay with it. If you have something below it, go higher than it. And if you have something higher than it, don't go to this. I hope this video helped. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you kind of understood this. If you like videos like this that I do, please tell me, and keep participating in my polls to decide what I cover next. And have a nice day. See you in the next one.